Hi, and welcome to another episode of Coding with Anthony. We're still on the forms series. Today we'll be creating forms with using text input, and we're going to make them functional with JavaScript. So if you look over here, we could type in, let's see, how many states are there? California. Whoops, not California. How many states are there? 50. What state is Los Angeles in California? What country is the Vatican City in? It's in the Vatican. Submit questionnaire. You got 3 out of 3, and up here it says 3 out of 3. So we're going to create a web form similar to this. So let's get started. Alright, first click on the desktop, new folder, and let's just call it a text form. And inside the folder we will create a new folder called CSS for our CSS file, a new folder called JS for our JavaScript file, and a new text document, which will be our HTML text document. So we'll call it a textform.html. JavaScript will create a new file in here called script.js. And in our CSS folder, we'll create a new file called stylesheet.css. Alright, good. So I'm going to close out of this code here, and I'm going to open the project folder. I'm using Atom IDE. It's really good. It has a lot of bonus features. You might see some of them in this video. So which one is text form? Okay, so here's our files up here. Alright, and let's start off with opening text form in the window, and right now it's blank, as you can see. Okay, so let's get started. So let's open text form in our IDE. Let's add our HTML tag, our head tag. See, there's a way to make it. Let me try something. Head. It was working earlier. Okay, never mind. I just thought there's a way to make it so it automatically closes a tag, and I'm pretty sure there is, but I'm not sure how yet. So we're going to call this, we're going to create a title, form text input. It's a text area, so it's called text area form. And let's link to our CSS document. CSS style sheet.css. We got to do a rel to tell it that it's a style sheet. And we have to do a script tag to point towards our JavaScript file. And that points to our JavaScript file. We got to close that. And let's close the head tag. Let's create a body tag. And close the body. And let's close the HTML. Okay, first thing we want to do is create our header. So we're going to create a header here in a div. So div class equals header. In that div, we want a class called score, or we will call it, it's an ID called score. Our results, we'll do results, and we'll close the div. All right, so let's put our title in here. So we'll call it a funny text area form test. And let's put it in H1 tags to make the text bold. Not bold, but big. And in our results ID, we're going to give it a temporary H2 tag, which will be replaced when we update the form. So it's going to be H2, and it's going to be, let's say, score and not yet attempted. Close that. Okay, so we got our header done, and now let's create our body. We'll create a div with a class of body. And let's close that. Okay, now we got to create our form, and we're going to call it quiz. And on submit, so when we press the submit button, it will perform this task. It'll return a function. I mean a method. It was a method or function. So on submit, we're gonna create this method later, this function later. And let's start by create. Okay, now we're gonna create questions. So we want a div class for our questions. This is gonna hold our question in it. Okay, now we got to create. Let's create our header for the question. Okay, let me think. How far away is the North Pole? Now that's more of a multiple choice question. Let's think of something that's easy to answer. How many legs does a dog have? If you don't know this answer to this question, you probably should quit programming right now, because it's going to be beyond your intellectual capacity. Okay, so now that we got our header, let's do our inputs. So input type equals text area. It tells it that it's a text area. And our name will be question1, Q1. And this is how we access this data later will be under that name. And let's see what this looks like. I'm not. How many legs does the dog have? Kind of wanted it on the same line, so let's get rid of the H. Well, we could do this here. Yeah, so there we go. And don't we forgot our question mark. Okay, and we're going to copy the question. Let's do 3 questions. Okay. What? Let's see, I got an idea. What was Bubba's favorite Bubba from Forrest Gump favorite food? And that's gonna answer that's gonna be shrimp. And let's see, a third question is what is the let's think of something good. Okay, here's one. What is the gambling capital of the world? And the answer to that will be Las Vegas. And we change this to question 3. Okay, and now we got to do a submit button. Submit. And then text in it to be submit quiz. Alright, let's save this bad boy. Alright, so we got 3 questions. Time to do our CSS file. So first we're going to do our header. And inside the header tag, we want to do a background image of a linear gradient. We're going to choose some colors. So green works. Gotta change it to hex. Okay, let's get back to the green. And a third color. Color picker. This is one of the features that this program is. That's really nice about this program is the color picker. Okay. We want to align the text in the center. And we're going to want a padding. I think that's it. Okay, so we messed something up here. So let's go back to our HTML file and our class header. We never closed our header tag. So let's do a /div here, and that will fix that problem. And refresh. Okay. So padding is not correct here. Oh, it is right. What am I doing? Okay, I was like confused for a second. I forgot the colon here. So I want to save this, and what that padding does is create some space under the words and on top of the words. Okay, and I don't like that color. Let's do color blue. Let's see how that looks. Okay, well, that looks good. I like that. Okay, let's work on the body now. So I want a border style of solid. I want a border, and we're going to have 3 pixels all around it. And I need to remember to put the colons in. And we're going to do text align center. It's kind of how I wanted this one to look, so I think we're good there. Alright, now for our questions. We're going to do border style solid, border of 3 pixels around, all the way around it, and background color of gray. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Okay, we're getting better. We need a margin. Let's see, we want 10 pixels by 0 by 10 by 0. Actually, we need to do something here. This is the left, and we're going to put this at 15%, and the right at 15%. And then 10 pixels on the top and on the bottom. That should give us some space in between each question item, and then a little bit of cut on the sides. Perfect. Alright, well, that's looking good. Okay, let's save this. And it's time to move on to the JavaScript. Okay, so first we're going to do is create a function called onSubmit. And if you remember, back in the HTML, we told it right here to return the function onSubmit when the button is clicked. That's what onSubmit means. When button is clicked, do this. Okay, we're going to need to have a score variable. We'll start it at 0. We need a variable for the number of questions. And we want 3 questions. And we need 3 answer arrays. So question 1 ands are, that stands for answer array, and we need to do variable. And we want to make this equal to, let's see, how many legs, so this one is an answer array. How many legs does a dog have? So the answer could be either 2 or 2. And then so what was Bumblegum's favorite food? Well, we know that was shrimp. Is there any alternatives for shrimp out there? Well, it could also be prawns. So we want to add this in here. Okay. And question 3, ands array equals, what is the gambling capital of the world? Las Vegas. And people might also just type in Vegas. So we got our answers stored in arrays. You got to remember, since it's a Textarea input, people type different things in. So that's why we have answer arrays storing different various answers that they could type in. Okay, so now we want to make sure. Oh yeah, before we do that, we have to create variables to store the question's value from the text area. That's how we do that. So we have 3 questions. Okay, now that we've done that, we want to check to make sure they typed it in right. I mean, that's in later. Right now we want to see if they made sure they at least typed something in. So we're going to do a for loop to go through each question to make sure that they type something in. So var I equals 1, I less than or equal to num of questions I plus plus. So this loops through each question. This loops through a total equal to the number of questions that were in the question variable. Okay. So we got to make an if statement, and we got to do an evaluation because we're going through each question. You could do these individually. You could actually type in if q1 equals blank, and then you could do something, but then we'd have to do 3 if statements. So this is making it much easier, much more simple. So if q plus I, so I being the loop iteration, which question it's on, equals blank. So if the question is blank, the value equals blank, then alert you forgot to answer question number, and then add I. Alright, let's save this and test it out here. So it should warn us. Okay, so it didn't work, and let's see why. So you forgot to answer question number plus I, val q plus I. Let's do a test alert here to make sure it's reading. So I'm going to alert the value of q1. I think I know. I think I just forgot to. Yeah, I just forgot to. Sorry, I just forgot to refresh the HTML file here. So let's remove that alert and save all. Let's just test it one more time. So let's put something here and something here. So it should alert us that question 2 was not entered. There it is. Alright, so that works. Okay, so now we're going to want to get our score. Let's just copy this here. Okay, it's because we're doing the same. We're going to loop through the number of questions again. So we're going to do our same if statement. If eval. Sorry. Okay, so we're looping through each question, and now we got to loop through each array. Loop through each value in each array to compare the questions to. So we got to do var j this time and set it to 0 because the array started at element 0. Q plus I plus and R. So that evaluates, that goes through the loop. Well, I got to do the I plus plus. So this will go through the entire array. And I forgot to put a, yeah, that's the wrong place there. So let's clear that out. And we got to do dot length. So it goes through the number of answers. So if you have like 5 possible answers, this will go through it each part of the array, each value in the array. That'll go through it. So ours, it'll go through it twice because each one is dot length equals 2. Dot length finds how many elements are in the array. Okay, so now we got that. So now we're going to make a statement if eval again q plus I plus and R and element j. So j is what count we're on in the array, and the I is what question number it is. So question 1, element 1, or 0 or 1. And this could be question 1, 2, or 3. Equals and we're going to do eval again. Q plus I, so question and the number. And then we're going to do a 2 lowercase. So that means if they type in the question correctly, if they type in the right answer, if they say they forget to capitalize Las Vegas, then it'll still be answered correct because it'll match it with a lowercase. You know what, we have to put Las Vegas all in lowercase to make this work, so let's go up here and do Las Vegas and Vegas. So it just allows us to type in all capitals, or different capitals in different places, and leaving in, and it allows us for more variety of possible answers people could type in. Okay. And then here we go. Score plus plus. Alright, let's do an alert here and type in score just to verify that this loop is working. Let's type stuff in. 2 shrimp and Las Vegas. Should alert us with the number 3. And it didn't alert us with 3. Let's try it one more time. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, here's our error. That's supposed to be lowercase. Oh, no, it isn't. Ah, this is supposed to be J++. Okay, not I++ here, J++. That gets a little confusing. Okay, let's try again. 2 legs, shrimp, and Las Vegas. Damn it. Excuse me. Still don't. I got myself all confused. That's the error right there. Eval plus ands array with a capital A. There we go. So see, little mistakes can make a big deal here. So all we needed was a capital A here. Okay, now we're pretty much done. So let's just do our results. Document.get element by ID. Results. This goes into our document and grabs the ID, or creates a variable that holds the ID of results, and then we could manipulate it. Okay, H2, you scored plus score plus out of plus num of questions. And we got to close our H2 tag. Okay. And now we got to do an alert. And let's just copy this here. Paste it in the alert. We delete this portion here. And delete this. So now, file save all. Refresh. And how many legs does a dog have? 2. Shrimp is Bubblegum's favorite food. And what is the gambling capital of the world? Las Vegas. And when we click submit quiz, you scored 3 out of 3. Oh, one last thing we got to do to make that change stick, otherwise it reloads it, is right above the closing curly brace, we type in return false. That keeps it from reloading after the button's been pressed. So let's do, how many legs does a dog have? 2. Shrimp is Bubba's favorite food. Gambling capital of the world is Las Vegas. You score 3 out of 3, and darn it, did I forget to refresh? How annoying. Okay, let's just mess it up. You scored 0 out of 3, and there you go, it sticks up there. You scored 0 out of 3. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something, and yeah, make sure you keep practicing this. kind of go over it a couple times, type things in until you understand it, and once you get the hang of it, move on to the next thing. But this is a good starting point. Gives you, a touch of JavaScript and connecting it to your web form. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and share it. And again, thanks for watching.